Well, I'm hoping to not be too much of a disappointment to you. How was your conference so far? Did anybody have any kind of mismatch? Did you run into something that really didn't interest you? Well, every now and then that happens, right? We know that. And, I try to keep it to the stuff that matters. For example, a black screen. Oh, it's turning blue. Well, just a little bit, as you were not prepared to see me, I'm representing a company called Rehadapt. We do mounting and positioning of all kinds of assistive technology. And let me get this presentation started here. And I specifically want to introduce you to a process that we call the VMS, the Virtual Mounting Service. And just very brief, who I am. I've spent most of my work life in working with assistive technology. I'm a speech therapist and special ed teacher by trade. And now, since a while, I'm running Rehadapt. But, I really don't want to waste your time with irrelevant stuff. And there's so much blah blah and bragging about products, and that might be a little exhausting. Let's rather talk about things that really matter. What does matter in life? Well, the most important to me is family. I'm blessed with 3 kids, cute as hell, always a joy. Well, maybe not always, but almost always a joy. And as the ages go by, you get used to your little ones growing up. And my very little one is not that little anymore. And he's a full blast heavy metal guy. But he taught me an important lesson. So he was always kind of on the lazy side and didn't work too hard. But that all of a sudden changed when he grew a strong desire of this thing. The Annihilator 2 Epiphone guitar. And usually, now I should have had fat sound. Well, sound is gone, I'm sorry for that. And to get this guitar, it's kind of expensive, but he really wanted it. And he had to do something very, very unusual. He had to work. So we were remodeling our house, and I had him working for weeks and months and knocking walls off, and he finally got the money, and he got his guitar, and he was the happiest guy you can think of. And, as a father, you're used to see your kids sometimes cry. It's part of small kids. But you're not really used to see your big guy, your heavy metal dude, the tough one, weep as a little baby. But he did. Because of what? What happened? He dropped his guitar that he worked so hard for, and it broke. And he was weeping like a little baby. It touched me. And, why am I telling this? You work in assistive technology. You work often with AAC interventions, and you know how much goes into an intervention. You work hours of consulting with the clients. There's a significant amount of money spent on these devices. Raising funds is a big issue to get this money together. You spend nights of programming the device, getting the right vocabulary in there. It's constant alignment, discussion in the team. It takes so much effort and time, right? It's so much teaching and modeling to the clients. And after all, the user's learning is significant. I mean, they put so much effort in it, and they rely on this technology. Now, what is the justification for all this effort? Well, the justification is clear. These devices have to be used wherever the clients are, in whatever situation. So use them and keep them safe. Don't have them break. Have you ever had your piece of assistive technology being broken to be sent back to the manufacturer? How long did that take? Way too long. So there's only one thing to do. Keep the stuff safe, keep it available. And available means wherever the user is. Whether the user is at home, whether they're out and about, whether they're at school or at play, whether you're at the hairdresser, at a party. You might meet special people in a special occasion and you really want to have your words, right? And even meeting animals. This technology that we all work with is essential, and it needs to be kept safe and kept in place. Now, specifically in vulnerable situations like in medical contexts, right? Now, how can that be achieved? There's this piece of equipment, say an eye tracking device, and there's this user being in a wheelchair or in a bed. Well, you know, it's simple. It's just mechanics, right? Everybody who can tinker a little bit, who has some stuff in the garage, can put something together to keep the device available and mobile and in the right spot. You think this is the right way to do it? Well, not necessarily. There are smarter ways to do it. And that's what we focus on as Rehadapt. We specialize in mounting. Whether you will need your device positioned on a table, whether you need it on a wheelchair, over a bed, a sofa, a beanbag, whatever, we do it. We mount consumer devices, phones, tablets, dedicated AAC devices, switches, joysticks, the full range. And to be able to do so, we have a quite extensive modular system of I would say a gazillion parts and tubes and joints and quick release connectors and whatnot. I'll show you just very quickly a basic principle. There's a few things. I just got a very, very basic setup here. And it's important that you can get your payload, that's a bit difficult with this microphone, out of the mount very quickly and very easily. To us, it's important. Most of the people who actually operate the device do not have a background in mechanics. They are not engineers. They are, not the persons who use mechanical stuff all day long. So for us, it's important that if you have a joint that is very flexible, like with this kind of joint, you can turn it into any direction seamlessly. But if you want to tighten it, you don't have to use a big tool and lots of force. With very little force here, you can get it here very, very strong. Right? And there's many, many different parts. And out of this Lego system, out of these Lego bricks, you can build whatever you need. But is it really that you can build whatever you need? I mean, it's sometimes really freaking complex. A wheelchair might look like this, a standard wheelchair, right? See that. Sometimes you might have a power wheelchair. And the kind of attachment points as on the manual wheelchairs are not there. And sometimes you have a stroller kind of a chair. And sometimes it might be a walker. Sometimes you might find a chair that reclines, or you might have chairs with a standing function. And we just can't say, just because the client comes in a chair that is unusual to us, that, oh, sorry, I can't fix your device in the right position to your chair. Saying no is not an option for us. We always have to make it work somehow. And that often requires a certain amount of knowledge and experience. And your client somewhere in maybe a remote area is often in a situation that access to this knowledge on site is not available. That's why we came up with a process that we call the virtual mounting service. So it's all about making expertise available in a certain spot, remotely. And all we need is a few images of the wheelchair or the bed or the situation where you need your assistive technology device positioned. And you take those pictures, and we need some basic information about the device itself and the wheelchair. You take those pictures, you send it to us. Us is that company located in the heart of Germany. And there is a bunch of skilled engineers with a lot of experience, with a big database on all kinds of wheelchairs, all kind of mounts that we did before, a lot of piled knowledge. And with their knowledge and expertise, my colleagues will draft an individual solution, put it together in the CAD system, and then out of the CAD system, we take renderings, so the drawings, and we superimpose them over your original pictures. So what you get from us as a suggestion to solve your problem is not a cryptic part list or some product names that nobody can relate to, but we send you images of this is how it's going to look like. And then you can get back to us and say, you know what? When I look at it, it might work, but it's on the wrong side. We typically feed from the right side. What do I need to switch it to the other side, for example? Now, based on this visual outcome of our virtual mount, it is also very easy. We can use the quotation that you get from us to apply for your funding. We all know this funding process is painstakingly long sometimes. And when, 7 months later, you finally are ready to order, do you still know what actually was needed? Well, we'll send you, we'll have one number, one ID number, so the ordering process is very, very simple. And also, when we have your individualized solution and pack it up to be sent to you, it will be pre-mounted as far as possible with the box sizes that we have. We'll send you documentation, also the individualized images and exact instructions where to mount it and how to mount it. So we really try to make it easy without requiring you to know all the details about the bits and pieces that we carry. Very often in the process, when we talk about AAC devices, it's an SLP who is leading this intervention. And there's a reason why this SLP chose to become an SLP and not a mechanical engineer. Usually, they really don't want to touch this mechanic stuff. So what we're doing is trying to take the pain out of this process. We deliver the knowledge about the mounting, and you can focus on the vocabulary, on the access, on the device, on the implementation, on the modeling. This is... Well, the audio is not working here. Well, we also have a little video that goes through the process, but without audio, it's not really that nice. Anyway, this is basically just a visualization of what I just said, that we built that, as you just saw it, a virtual solution. We send it to you as a visual suggestion, and then we can work it. And getting this data, we need a number of pictures from certain viewing angles. We also need the position of the device, at least on one of the pictures, so we really know where the device needs to be. And as a help, this already looks a little complex. We have developed a cell phone app available for Android and iOS that guides you through the process of gathering the right data. It also, for privacy reasons, it has an automatic face blurring system, so we don't necessarily have to have the faces of users in our database, right? And the insanely strict European GDPR inhibits that. That cell phone app, it's called VMS to Go, makes that process really, really easy. Wherever you are, you can request our support for whatever mounting solution you're in. We'll give you an answer within 3 work days without charge. And this is what we do to take the pain out of mounting. You can try the service. You can either go to our website and use an online form. You can download this VMS to Go app. Or you can get in touch via email with our technical team and with the address vms@rehadapt.com. So that was it for me. Do you have any questions around the process or our products? No? If you're interested, you may come to our booth, with this, which is at the other wall, quite in the middle, and get a hand on these things. And the one thing that I really like, I know actually 2 things that I would like to give you as I'm finishing here. The one thing, keep it safe. Make all your efforts worth by making sure you can always provide a device that is positioned well and safe. So much work has been put into that from so many people. You have a certain obligation to max out of that. And the other one that I would like to give with you, don't be afraid of that mechanical stuff. It is not that hard. We take you by the hand, we'll guide you through. It doesn't hurt. Okay, thank you very much.